Brown and Freckleton have continued to distance themselves from their rivals early in the season. While there is plenty of time to turn things around, it surely must be disconcerting to see them build the cushion they have at this stage of the year. If they want to help stem the tide today, it might have to start in qualifying. Let's see who brings the fight to Barcelona as we get ready to watch round 8 of the Porsche Owners Club Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya has developed a reputation of not encouraging passing, but this could make for quite a tense battle today if anyone is out of position. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. Placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower-tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get a pass done. After that, your next hope might be into Lacaja, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day. Well, DJ, we're plenty familiar with how it is with the F1 cars here, but what about the GTE and GT4 Porsches?
Well, Joe, it is going to be a little bit easier to follow in the wake of the other cars around here as we're compared to seeing in Formula One. Obviously, less downforce on these GT cars is going to make that easier. But because it's a multi-class race, there's a couple areas that are going to be very, very crucial to watch out for. Now, you mentioned it in the top, that first braking zone going down into the Elf corner, that there's about a 75-meter braking zone difference between the GT4s and the GTEs. So drivers are going to have to be very careful, especially considering that is the best place to overtake on the circuit. Now, the other part that is very different in these GTEs is Campsa, that sweeping right-hander up the hill right about in the middle of the track. In Formula One, we are used to seeing that corner absolutely flat out. Well, in the GTEs, you got to feather the throttle a little bit. In the GT4s, you've got to hit the brakes ever so slightly. So that's another area for these guys to really be careful of. Now, we are racing the Formula One layout here, and so that makes what I will argue the most crucial corner on this circuit for these drivers. It's that final chicane. You have got to absolutely nail your exit out of there to be able to carry as much speed as possible around New Holland and maybe, just maybe, get an overtake done down the main straight.
I'm expecting that's where we'll see most of that action down into that first corner, if we're honest. Before we get to the racing itself, we want to remind you of our sponsors, which of course includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. As well as Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Now, for the championship at this stage in the season, I mentioned with the GT1 standings, Travis Brown with a pretty decently healthy lead, definitely extended it more last week, up to 12 points over Michael Johnson. Corey Lotvilla did not have the best of days, unfortunately, so he is dropped down to third. Now, Brian Salehi, a single point back. He took a second place finish, and that has climbed him back up towards the top of things, but he still has some ways to go to try and chase down Travis Brown, especially at that many points behind BJ Fulton rounds out our top 5. DJ, what about our GT2 class?
Well, Joe, in the GT2, it is a little bit more of a stomping ground there for Jerry Freckleton. You can see that 30-point advantage over John Mohmeyer. Very, very large this early in the season. But the one thing these guys are going to be watching out for, it doesn't look like Jerry's here tonight. So this is maybe the opportunity for them to come back on him. But sitting back in third, only 13 points back of John Mohmeyer, is Aaron Edwards, with Adam Fulton about 11 points behind him. And Tyler King shaping up for a nice little battle there for P4.
Now, for today's event, it's pretty much as you'd expect. We're in another sprint round, so it is a 30-minute race in round 8 out of 24. There's the 2 different cars that they are allowed to race, each in their own class, the GT4 in the GT2 class and the 991 RSR in the GT1 class. 45-minute open qualifying is actually taking place right now. And they've got open setups in this series. I'm sure mechanical grip will be at a premium here today, so drivers will definitely have been fiddling with that to try and get as much speed as they can through some of these long, sweeping corners out here in Barcelona. As we now take a look at our drivers in the midst of this qualifying, Salehi actually has the provisional pole up in the GT1s, and Sipek holds it down in the GT2s. Mohmeyer is having a tough time here today, so while he might be second in the points, he's down 11th, and he's actually not on track currently, so it's not looking good for him to try and really cut down on Freckleton, as we're going to watch Sipek come around here for the last few corners, DJ, to see if he can maybe distance himself over Duncan a little more.
Well, he's got a very, very small gap right now over Duncan, only about 1,000th of a second, so he's definitely going to want to have that to go. And as you saw him come around those final corners, that brings up something else these drivers are really going to have to be careful for around the circuit to Barcelona, and that is the big yellow sausage curbs on the inside of these corners. They will bite you, Joe, and even in these sturdy suspension GT cars, they can really pack a wall up there. You can see some on the inside of Elf, and now as they come up, there's that first bit of little multi-class action.
Yeah, that was Hagendick, who was trying to go around the outside. Certainly, I imagine it's going to be tough here in this qualifying for those GT E cars to find a completely clean one. Fulton, who sits in 4th, is they're 5th, actually, excuse me. There's 2 Fultons here. That's Adam that we were watching. His last lap didn't count. He's 5th in the GT2 class. Travis Brown, who is in the GTEs, doesn't go any quicker, so he'll stay 3rd. A lot wider variety, as now we look at the other Fulton, BJ Fulton, sitting in 4th, as I mentioned before. A lot wider gaps at the top of that GT1 class than there is the GT2 between the front drivers.
Yeah, it's really a startling gap almost up front, with Brian Salehi having a 0.47 hundredths of a second advantage there. There you see BJ Fulton not quite able to get down there, only a couple hundredths off, so he's going to be hoping to do a little bit better. BJ currently in 4th, as we said.
Latvala didn't improve. Michael Johnson didn't. Looks like Robin as well. And then Salehi didn't manage to bump himself up the order. Instead, we take a look at Hagendick now in that 483. Not thinking this is going to be fast, since he had to go around the outside of Renault there. And indeed, he's about half a second off. Oh, Jad Duncan has overtaken Sipek since we last looked. And it's about by a 100th of a second right now. No, it's a 10th of a second, it looks like, as Jad's now coming up through Europe car in the final chicane. Can he pull himself even farther away? I do not see Rondeau on the track, and with only 5 minutes left, he's maybe only going to have time for one flying lap if he gets it out there and starts going now.
Yeah, he's really going to hope to do that. We watch here, Duncan. That's not going to be a good time from him. You saw just how much of that inside sausage curb he took. Here comes Paul Newton across the line. That's a slow lap for Paul. You saw him ducking down there, trying to get a little bit of the draft. And we're going to jump back here, riding on board with BJ Fulton as he navigates this tricky final complex.
Yeah, this should give us a good idea of just how slow and fiddly it is through here. And he's very good on the first few curbs, then definitely takes a bit on the last one. Doesn't seem to hamper him too much as he comes down to the line. He crosses at a 41.358. That's about 0.2 off of his best. And then behind him, Latvala still sitting in second, a half a second behind Salehi, and not able to find anything. He abandons the next lap, so he might be done with qualifying. Bacignone, it looks like he must have had an off track somewhere out there on that one.
And there you saw Eric Hagendick out of that last corner. Now, that's a really good way to run it. Run it up against the side of that sausage curb, Joe. It's almost like using the cushion on a dirt track to just try to run it up there and get as much lateral force as you can off of it. You can see unable to go faster there. Now, let's watch Sipik see if he's able to regain that first place position over Jad Duncan.
Just under a tenth that he has to make up to take pole back. Let's see if this is good enough. No, it looks like that was about 0.4 off of his best, as Jeffrey Shulam is next. And he's got a 55.7 on the board, a 55.8, just shy, unfortunately. Looks like Aaron Edwards is next in 6. We're down to 3 minutes left. It takes about 2 minutes to get around here. And Momeyer on an out lap, just trying to get it wound up for maybe 1 or 2 last goes. BJ Fulton taking it way out wide, nearly putting wheels into the gravel, but keeping it on.
And there you see, I think that's not going to cost it too much. I don't think that's going to cost too much of an off track, but let's see if that hampers his time as he comes out of the final corner. I think it is, Joe. Yeah, indeed. There you see about 0.7 of a second slower. Let's watch Michael W. Johnson now coming to the line. Good use of all of that momentum out of the corner. Oh, but unable to improve.
Roban next. And another driver with a discounted lap. Bacignone goes faster. He gets up to 6 with that move. This is Adam Fulton, and he is on an out lap himself. Looks like he'll get 2 more tries if he hustles, because he's got just over 2 minutes to go. Hagendick not able to find anything. He's slow, so I think he's calling it a day on qualifying, and feeling like as high as he can go is 7th. What about Latvala? Crosses the line, and looks like it's another lap that unfortunately had an off track somewhere. What about Travis Brown, our winner from last race? No, nothing. He'll stay in 3rd.
He'll have just enough time to get another one in here if he wants it. Matthew Sipik now, he is going to have another lap after this. That looks like a little bit of a rough line coming out of the corner, and indeed about 0.5 of a second off. Here comes Michael Ost in that GT1 category. Looks like that's an out lap there for Ost as well.
So Shulam and Oviat are going to be next. And as they cross side by side, neither of them had that lap count for them either, unfortunately. Paul Newton, who's trying to get himself a little bit of a better position than 10th, which is second to last within his class, is not going to be able to do it there. And then I think we're back to Momeyer once again.
Indeed we are, John, piloting through that very, very tricky final set of chicanes. We've talked about it a lot already. It'll for sure try to catch some drivers out during the race. Good wide apex going into that last corner, trying to carry as much speed as he can onto the main straightaway. Here he comes. Ooh, this looks slow for John.
Yeah, that was another one that did not count as a lap. He'll get this final flyer to try and get a better time and see if he can help his championship hopes here today, because it's going to be tough to pass from that far behind as Cooner, a newcomer to the series, crosses. And another driver just not being able to keep it clean enough. Fulton is clean, but he's looks like 2 seconds off of his best time. It's definitely not in the range that he was looking for. Travis Brown with a 1:41.7, well off of his pace. Ron Palmer abandons his final lap. 4 seconds to go. Hagendick not close enough. This is going to be checkered flag for him as he crosses the line, and it's an off track for him. So no improvement. BJ Fulton up next here. DJ, can he get onto the front row?
Well, Let's see what BJ can do. He's had some good qualifying before. Let's see if he can match that. Comes out of that final corner and ready to cross the line. No, this is going to be another slow one for BJ. He's not going to improve.
Paul Newton next. Struggling a bit here in the GTE cars, and yeah, it's just not a good day for him, unfortunately. He's going to have to try and do this one on race pace. Aaron Edwards is up next. I see Sipek approaching the line, but he was slow, so that one unfortunately not going to matter much as Aaron Edwards abandons him. Then it's John Momeyer all the way down in 11th. The lap looks like it's competitive, but is it going to be fast enough? Second in the points right now, 30 behind our leader Freckleton. Without him here today, can he give himself a better leg up? He's going to finish the lap, so that's good enough for him. As he comes down to the line, trying to improve on a 57.5. He does it, a 55.6, and that puts him into 7th. Much, much better.
He will be happy with that. Here comes Brian Cooner, as you mentioned, one of the newcomers, taking a big chunk of the sausage curbs on the entry and exit to that chicane there. Forces him to run a little bit wide. I think this is going to be a slow lap for Brian, and indeed, as he crosses the line, that's not going to be enough. But let's check back in on Eric Hagendick.
I think he already took the checkered flag. He's going to come back around. Maybe he did get across in time. Let's see. And no, this one not counted. So yeah, he took the checkered flag for sure. And that means that everybody has now crossed. So we'll go to that starting order in just a moment. But the drivers are locked in, and we've got 30 minutes of racing today. This should be fascinating to watch as the drivers begin to line up. The session has ticked over. And for the pole position out here today, it will be Brian Salehi. Corey Lotvala will start next to him. And Travis Brown, our current championship leader, will start from 3rd. BJ Fulton will be P4 as Michael W. Johnson starts 5th and Doug Baccignone in P6. Inside of the next row, Eric Hagendick with Jacob Abrams starting P8 and Michael Ost in 9th. Last two are going to be Paul Newton in 10th and Michael Robon last on the field of qualifiers.
Jad Duncan is going to lead off that GT2 field with Matthew Sipek right behind him. Mark Rondeau will be lining up in 3rd, followed by Eric Oviat to his outside. Adam Fulton and Aaron Edwards will make up the row behind them. With 2nd place in the points, John Momeyer hoping to gain on his rival Freckleton, who is not here tonight. But beside Momeyer will be Jeffrey Schulam, and behind them in 9th is Ron Palmer, followed by Alex Flissinger in 10th. Horace Knight is 11th, followed by Tyler King and Brian Cooner rounding out the back of the field.
This is going to be interesting, DJ, because Travis Brown has been on a bit of a tear lately, on a good bit of momentum, but starting from 3rd at a track that I know we emphasize it a lot, but I've seen it really ring true just about every car we've seen arrive here. It's so hard to pass. I mean, is this going to be bad news for him with two very fast drivers in front?
I think it's going to prove very, very tricky for him, Joe. It is not the easiest thing to pass around here. And, well, as we talked about in a lot of the circuits that this series has gone to, there's a lot of incident mitigation that you've got to go through. There's a lot of tricky corners, very easy to set a tire off over the line. And if that's what happens to you, you've got to be able to recover from it quickly. So I think for Travis, what he's going to be wanting to do here is just put maximum pressure on Lotvala and Salehi in front of him and see if he can force one of them into a mistake.
You can see them singling out. Obviously, they don't want to be double file through that last chicane, but they should get back in line once they are out of there. But there won't be much time for that because the pace car peels in pretty quickly. We'll see if that gives us an effectively single file start or not. Some of them trying to go too wide through there. Salehi backs it up now as they all start to collect once again. And taking it nice and slow, getting everybody a chance to get up to the group as they come around New Holland, waiting for the green flag. He's definitely got them very slow here. Can he get a good jump? And it's a long, long wait. Green flag is out, and he does not get a good jump. Salehi has Lotvola right next to him, and Fulton coming up strong, but he's boxed in. Travis Brown with not the best of starts, back in fourth now, looking at 3 wide behind them. Michael Johnson to the inside as they come into Elf. Are they going to be able to get through clean? So far, so good. And it looks like the GTEs are through. Let's go to the GT4s.
Well, in the GT4s, it was a very, very convoluted start and a bad jump off the line from Jad Duncan. And there you can see Eric Oviatt able to power his way through for that first sequence. We've got a big spin behind.
Oh, and multiple drivers getting involved. Rondeau, Fulton is in there. Looks like Filsinger and Sipek. So Jad Duncan, Oviatt made it through. Oh, there's a car off. That was Doug Baccignone. As we come back to our leaders in the GTE, Salehi ahead of Lotvola with Brown managing to get back into third ahead of Fulton.
Yeah, and this is where that part of the track that you talked about, Joe, almost impossible to overtake really anywhere from that first corner on. You've just got to follow in line, but Travis Brown doing a great job as they fling their way into that left-handed hairpin, just putting pressure onto Corey Lotvola.
Not going to let them get away quite yet as we ride on board with third place Travis Brown, just hanging on to these top two, hoping that he can make sure they don't make inroads into his championship lead. Now, down in the GT2s, Eric Oviatt ahead of Jad Duncan. Ron Palmer, a pretty decent gap back in the 29, as he's probably had to have slowed up a little bit with that incident, and that's why you see him so far back. They come onto the longest straight on the track, the pitch straight down towards Elf, but it appears that Oviatt is, or Duncan rather, is too far back from Oviatt. Now, I think we've got some time to take a glance at that opening wreck with our GT2 leaders. Let's stick with this, because a little wide there for Oviatt, down into Elf and down to the inside, coming into Renault. That's Jad Duncan, who manages to find the space. They get very close together. Are we going to get a second wreck in the same corner, almost touching wheels, and he just drifts in front of him with inches to spare, then drifts back across. They are going to make contact. Off goes Jad Duncan, and there goes Eric Oviatt with a huge lead now.
Oh my goodness, you saw Duncan's elbows there out completely and totally. We're gonna jump back and check out a replay here, side by side, going up through that Renault corner as we go down into Repsol. There you see just a little bit of an overbrake, a little bit of a tap behind, and that's gonna send Jad Duncan spinning around. That
late defense, just it had such feelings of Rosberg versus Hamilton all over again into that same corner. But Oviatt did not fall victim to it. He tried to actually slow down and give the spot back, but unfortunately, Duncan had fallen down so many positions, he had to keep going eventually. And now we're watching from Momeyer. Holy cow, Momeyer up to fifth. So up 2 spots since the start, and now Duncan behind him.
Indeed, John Momeyer doing a very, very good job at the start. That big kerfluffle that we saw, he laid onto the brakes, let it all happen in front of him, picked his way through, and then obviously with Duncan going off, had that as well.
In the meantime, Lotvola has fallen away from Salehi. Now it's Brown who is looking to try and get himself into second position. We ride on board with him with his Porsche RSR down into Repsol. Close, but you got to be a lot closer than that to get it done.
You certainly do, and this is just that maximum pressure like I talked about. Really trying to see what he can do, looking to see where Lotvola's disadvantages are. There you see Lotvola go very wide, and this is going to be Brown's opportunity. Dives to the inside.
Too wide into vert is a very difficult ask, and he doesn't chop him off. He leaves him space, but this means Lotvola's got the inside down into Campsa. This very fast sweeping corner goes in favor, amazingly, of Travis Brown, working the outside to take P2.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe. Whoever said you couldn't pass here at Barcelona clearly didn't tell Travis Brown.
So that gets him into second, but that was a lot of fighting. It cost him some time, and he's now 2.7 behind Bayan Salehi. Now that he's got the clear track, can he start to run down the number 15. We'll have to keep an eye on those laps. Oh my goodness, let's go to Aaron Edwards, Palmer, Shulam. This is for second in the GT2 class. It is an absolute hornet's nest. Shulam being attacked by Duncan, who recently got past Momeyer, but he has to back out of it into Kampsa. Can't do quite the same that we saw from Latvala.
But Momeyer's thinking about maybe trying to move going down into that hairpin. Not good. Oh, contact in front.
Big wreck with Shulam getting punted off. And two cars are going to lose a lot of spots. I think that's Palmer as well, who goes wide. Incredible stuff here at the start of this race.
Lots of incidents. So here we go. You can see Shulam. Oh, just a big, big punt there from Edwards, giving everybody that go-ahead. And Duncan says, thank you very much. I'd like to move back up into second place, please.
And Shulam snuck through. So Edwards able to keep going. But after losing a couple spots, Horace Knight now up into fifth. In fact, Knight, my goodness, he started back 22nd overall. I think this was like third to last in his class. So he's been taking well advantage of all the chaos that's been happening around him. Continuing to ride behind second in the championship, John Momeyer, who's now in fourth.
Exactly, and just a point of reference here, Joe, I do want to point out that John Momeyer has set the fastest lap of this GT2 field. So that number 96 clearly has some speed, and I think Momeyer is just holding back a little bit, letting some of this chaos develop, and we may see him push a little bit harder later.
Taking it right out to the edge of Repsol, swinging back across the track, one of the slower corners here, down through Seat, and he's just keeping him honest for now. I think this may have finally settled down. Can we perchance maybe try and investigate that opening wreck in the GT4? See if we can try and figure out what went on there. I want to say maybe that started with Sipek. Oh, as soon as I said that, Sipek just got punted off. The 17 is pushed off down into Vert. Here's the replay of this incident. He's already a little bit slow for some reason. Maybe he went a little bit wide out of Seat. Oh, that was rude.
Yeah, just a little bit of crowding there.
So we're going to go on board to see if we can figure out what started all this. This is down into Seat. It looks okay here coming into the corner, DJ. Let's see about the exit.
Ooh, just gets a bunch of oversteer. The tail not wanting to grab down, just tries to grab it and get it to go there. Now that's Doug Baccignoni and the GT1's behind, and there you see the pinch, and two cars will not go into one.
And eventually is off the track and now down to 12th in his class. Let's go back to the battle for second, because Latvala is applying quite a bit of pressure to Brown. I'm not sure if they've been fighting here or what, because it's almost up to 5 seconds on Soleil. Unless Bayern really just has tremendous pace. This is shocking to see less than 10 minutes into this thing that he has been able to pull away this much.
Yeah, really pulling out a great gap there. I think it is a lot of it down to just Bayern absolutely driving away and Travis having to look in his mirrors a little bit more, as there is a veritable Hornets now starting to stack up behind him. Yeah,
that is Fulton, BJ Fulton behind Latvala, and Michael W. Johnson behind Fulton. 4 cars in a row effectively fighting for second position. Looks like they're all going to stay in line through here for the time being. Anybody who goes wide there through Repsol, though, I think is going to be in trouble, because there is a lot of dirt that was dragged back on from that side-by-side touch we saw with our GT4 leaders. And it is unfortunately made it even dirtier out there. Coming through Vert, still nobody able to really gain much on one another. In fact, Travis Brown responding. He's got it up to about half a second away from Corey.
Yeah, he should indeed. Trying to get it here. Now, we have seen that you can get a pass here going down into this hairpin, but nobody able to do it there. Ooh, a little bit of a lockup from Travis Brown that sends him wide onto the sausage curb.
Oh, but it's so hard to pass after that corner, and Latvala cannot capitalize as the 22 follows right in line. We're on board looking back from the rear bumper of Travis Brown. And BJ Fulton definitely getting right on top of things, as well as they all accordion together through the final chicane. Who's going to get the better launch here? Coming onto the main straight, I'd say Michael W. Johnson's got the best shot. Look at them fly faster and faster down towards Elf. It's 155, 160 miles an hour, but Johnson doesn't seem to have the top end. He starts to fall away.
And that may be a little bit of a setup choice there, Joe. Remember, these guys can do what they want to do in terms of setup, and he may have chosen a little bit more mechanical grip. So there you see, ooh, big wide line there going out from Corey Latvala.
Yeah, that went around Sipek, and now that's Filsinger. And, oh, he's going to be at the wrong place for Travis Brown. Tries to cut across, Latvala, rather. And it looks like Latvala not able to take advantage. Travis Brown now able to retain P2. So, I was right the first time. Latvala gave it a good shot. Unfortunately, could not manage it. As behind them, oh, Jacob Abrams getting into the back of Adam Fulton in the meantime.
And Joe, that really comes down to that speed disadvantage that I was talking about. These GTE cars able to get on the throttle a little bit earlier than their GT4 counterparts. And so that acceleration difference really, really showing its head there. But that mistake causing a lot of problems.
Something has put Hagendijk off track. This is down at Lakaja. I think he had some help from Adam Fulton. That's the white GT4 car you see behind him. Yeah, that's not where you brake.
No, I'm not really sure what Adam was thinking on that move. I would expect those GT4s to be braking a lot earlier than where he did.
Yeah, maybe just got off-sided, and he took such a big hit, he's going to come down pit lane and take his spare car, unfortunately. Now it's getting all kinds of mixed up between the two classes, as John Momar and Horace Knight, who have both come from a little bit farther back in the field, have got their way up to 4th and 5th. I'm not sure if they'll want to fight too hard, considering they don't want to give up time to some of the faster guys behind them that might be trying to climb back through the field.
Exactly, and they're just under 2 seconds behind Jeffrey Shulam in front of them for a potential podium position, so they may want to play a little bit of tag team here. But there, as you can see, those are the leaders of the GTEs streaking on by. That's going to put Momeyer very slightly offline, and you can see just how much Horace Knight is probably gripping that steering wheel hard as they fly on by him.
And we've jumped up now to Duncan and Oviatt. This is the battle for the lead in the GT2 class. And Salehi is rocked up behind them. Oh, he thought about trying to go through the inside of that little kink. Now he's just going to use that extra downforce and grip that the GTE class has to go a long way around through Bonk Sabadell. He splits them temporarily. Oh, but he's going to very much slow up Duncan into the final chicane.
Little bit of an over-eager move there from him, and indeed, here comes Oviatt trying to come down the inside. He's going to give him a little bit of an elbow out to the outside. They're going to drag race down the main straightaway.
And they're going to have some company. There goes Travis Brown, Corey Latvala. I think Oviatt dropping back just a little bit, but he'll have a tiny bit of overlap. How deep on the brakes can he take this? Pretty deep. He comes back at him, finds the apex first. They're going to hold up the two GTE cars behind them, but once again, making contact side to side, and that absolutely shoves Duncan out of the way.
And Joe, check up right ahead of them. That's BJ Fulton getting held up there massively. It looked like Michael W. Johnson may be able to have a run, but he was forced to check up as well.
They're going to stay in position. Now, did I think Oviatt let Duncan back by at some point? Did he catch up to him and take the lead back? Because wasn't Duncan the one that... Oh, and BJ Fulton around. Johnson get a little bit too close for comfort. Not only does he spin him, but he allows Jacob Abram Abrams through in the process. There's the red and white car of Abrams just sneaking between it.
Indeed, and Joe, that has caused an even bigger kerfluffle out on track. Michael W. Johnson doing the good thing, trying to let his rival there by, and that caused a massive logjam that you are just seeing the end of right now.
All right, let's take another look at that. Yeah, a lot of the GT4 cars were trying to go back through. And, Chad Duncan went for a flight. There he is across the track. Look at, oh no! That was Johnson running into him, I think. No, that was Fulton.
It was indeed. So there you see that little bit of contact, the spin around from there, and oh, there it is. That's, I believe, that's Newton coming around on the outside, and Fulton giving him a big punt. That is my mistake there. Michael W. Johnson indeed letting his competitor by after the spin, and that was a mix-up there with Duncan getting on his lid. That's what caused that absolute log jam coming through Verth.
I've got to double check to see that I'm remembering correctly. I want to say it was Oviatt and Duncan that had that initial touch that we compared to Rosberg and Hamilton down at a Repsol. So that's 3 times this race that they have come together, and it has put Duncan off, and the 3rd time finally did him in effectively.
Indeed. Able to come back out, though. We're going to jump back here, though, to Fulton and Hagendick. This battle continuing to go despite the fact that BJ, you can see, sporting a little bit of rear and front damage there.
I'm amazed he doesn't have more. He's continuing on in 7th place, still in the mid-pack, but I have to imagine he's lacking at least a little bit of pace from that. This is a sprint race, too, so they're not expecting pit stops. If he does come in to take his spare, it's going to put him effectively down to almost last.
Exactly, and he looks like he's at least able to keep some relative speed up through the faster sections, and indeed gains a little bit there through the slow speed corners.
Got a fight still brewing for 3rd. Now the podium because of Duncan falling away. Horace Knight, who are on board with in the bright yellow 14, trying to chase Momeyer. I guess it isn't so much about that qualifying pace when there's this much incredible attrition going on today, because we made it sound so dire for Momeyer, and now he's going to finish in 3rd.
And Joe, as you see there, that is Eric Hagendick making his way by BJ Fulton. So I think that damage definitely affecting the number 277 in a straight line.
Yeah, that looks relatively easy for Hagendick to get himself up into 7th. Sure, he won't mind that one too much. He's had his fair share of issues out there today, getting punted off at one point. Boy, a lot of damage on the rear wing of Fulton, though, that you can see with it bent at a jaunty angle. You can see it from on board Johnson. Michael, who started this race in 5th, unfortunately been relegated to P9 by this stage. And only 11 minutes left and some change. It's going to take a pretty hard push to get any positions from here.
Indeed it is. You can see starting to catch up, though. Yeah, BJ Fulton very clearly suffering from some straight line speed disadvantage.
Yeah, probably be able to at least get this one, but I'm not sure many other positions than that. Let's wait and see if he can catch him down the front stretch here. If Michael W. Johnson at least has that going for him with some straight line speed. We know he's made a little bit of contact himself, and that could have maybe given him some damage, but it's looking a lot more clean as they now head down the main straight and picking up pace. Boy, he's a long ways back, so if he does have better straight line speed, it's going to have to be quite drastic. Already heading towards the braking zone. No, he is just too far behind.
Yeah, and I think as I was picking out there earlier, it really looks like BJ still has good pace through those very slow corners around this circuit, and I think he just got a better bite off of the line coming through that final chicane, and that's what allowed him to hold on to that position.
So they stay put, at least for the time being. Now, Horace Knight was getting close, well, for a brief moment, and then he seems to have had a bad corner through New Holland. It's only about 4/10, but these GT4s don't seem to go off that great of a slipstream, and Knight is going to have to do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, he's really going to have to do it. You can see him there taking that very aggressive...
Oh!
Oh, and Momeyer around!
Oh, he hits the wall. I think he might be okay. It was not the biggest of hits, but he's losing spots as everybody flies by. I think he took the curb. Oh, yeah.
And Joe, I've got to put that all down to the psychology of Horace Knight. You heard me start to talk about how he was taking a little bit more of an aggressive line into that corner, almost like he was trying to cover or show his nose there to Momeyer. Momeyer dove into the corner a little bit tighter than you would expect, trying to cover that off, and that's what sent him around.
Another attempt from Latvala. And let's take a quick replay on this one, because Corey, I think if he was more brave, he could have had this, because he made a serious attempt into the first corner. And I don't think he's going to be able to pass in these next few. Yeah, watch this as they fly down the pit straight. He's going to get right on top of him, starts to poke his nose to the inside, but just doesn't quite continue to let the momentum carry him. Here he goes. Yeah, maybe too timid on the brakes.
Yeah, and that may be a little bit of a psych-out move as well, just trying to get into Travis Brown's head. We are under here, 9 minutes to go, and that could be setting up for a last lap maneuver from Latvala, just feeling out a little bit of the grip on the inside as well.
Well, this is definitely going to help Salehi in the points with his lead over these two, as unless he makes a major error, he's just about got this race wrapped up. But as far as Latvala goes, remember, he's about 37 points from Brown, so that's why he is so eager to try and get by this second-place car. They're coming up upon Filsinger now, in a very awkward position, unfortunately. He's going to have to squeeze around the outside. Last-minute move. Alex saw him coming, gave him just enough space.
Yeah, it's very, very good heads-up driving there from everybody around. Now, let's keep an eye here on Corey Latvala, see if he's going to be able to make anything happen. As we said, there's not as much draft in a Formula 1 car, but there's still enough. No, he's not going to go for it here, but looks a little bit better on the binders, able to come in very close to the back of that 300 machine.
Only 0.2 of a second separating these two. Brown trying to withstand this pressure. He's going to have to do it for about 4 more laps as they come around through Repsol once again. Do they have any other lap traffic in front? They actually do. Salehi's going through it right now. It's Momeyer and Sipek. And those two are fighting for position. If they catch them at the wrong place, this could be really bad news for the 300 car.
Very well could be, and Joe, I'm looking at these times right now. There's a chance they may catch them exactly where they caught Filsinger on that last run out of it. So there you see that's him flashing his lights. They're going to catch him early. They're going to catch him on the straight. That is good news for Travis Brown. Able to power past Sipek. He's going to line in behind John Momeyer and get past him as well, but that's going to compromise both of their braking zones ever so slightly. Here comes Latvala. He got a good run there out of the hairpin.
Right on top of him. This is where he needs to stick if he wants to be able to attack down into the first corner. Can the 300 maintain this through the final chicane yet again? They've got Jad Duncan right there. Is Duncan going to be able to give them a little bit of an easier time? Yeah, he's going to make his intentions clear. Stays off to the left side. Oh, but it's a bit of a pinch for Latvala, and just when he needs better speed, he can't find it.
That's not going to be looked great upon by the stewards there from Jed Duncan. I have to say, a little bit of a pinch there coming on to Corey Latvala with time running out. But Latvala, again, good on the binders going into Elf. That is going to help him at least be able to be within striking distance, hopefully, of Travis Brown.
We haven't been missing anything over in the GT2 class. Oviatt leads Schulem by about 4 seconds. Schulem ahead of Horace Knight by 9.5 seconds. So they're all spread apart. This is one of our best fights on the track right now in the dying stages of round 8. Latvala has been getting achingly close, but he's not been able to finish the job. Tyler King is actually going to take to the gravel to get out of their way and come back onto the course.
That's one way to do it. Now they're coming up behind Aaron Edwards and Horace Knight. Aaron there right through Verth. That's going to compromise Travis ever so slightly. And thankfully, I think Corey's going to be happy. Whoa, very close there, going past Horace Knight up through Campsa.
Well, Knight did a fantastic job staying out of the way. It did slow him up a bit for Aaron Edwards to try and gain some time, but that's not a fight yet. We'll go there if it does brew, and way off through Lakaija. They're going to go wheel to wheel. Travis Brown finally made a mistake. Is this what Corey Lotfula needed? Going the long way around through box up, and Ellie completes the pass.
Great heads-up play there for Corey Lotfula to be able to hold that out. Now, let's see if he's able to get a good run here out of those final corners, power onto the main straight, and start to pull away here.
He does. Look at the distance already. Brown certainly looks like he may have been holding up Lotfula a little bit here. With 4 minutes left to go, Corey's got clear air. Unfortunately, I doubt he's going to be able to catch Salehi. And, Aaron Edwards had an issue. I think Aaron Edwards, unfortunately, going off through New Holland is going to cost him a number of positions when he was looking at 4th place. And you can see how close he was to Horace Knight before this.
And there you go. All right, coming through that final chicane, everything seems nice and normal. Good clip of that little curb. He's going to be fine. Ooh, just misses the apex to let Shulam there through. And ooh, that's going to send him spinning. Oh.
Very lucky, almost span right back into traffic, but thankfully had some clear before he returned. He falls to 6th. Tyler King is the one that took advantage and finds himself in 4th. And Hagendick, who we see on screen, is at the exit of Repsol here. Now, how in the world did he wind up out there?
Looks like there's a little bit of lap traffic and just misjudged the braking zone right into the kitty litter, and that's a one-way ticket to the tire barrier, Joe.
Either brake fade or brain fade, not sure which. The 483, whatever the case, is going to wind up in the barriers and is down in 10th now. Just been a bad day overall for the 483. Let's see, where is Salehi? He's coming across the line now, so we're at 2 laps to go at this point.
And there you see Bayan ahead of him has Doug Boccignoni roughly about 10 seconds up the road, so he'll catch him, I would imagine, on this lap, probably near the end. And Brian Cooner is about 26 or so seconds, so he'll catch him on the white flag lap.
Paul Newton, who's been taking advantage of everybody else falling off the track, has now got Michael W. Johnson on his climb back forward. He's going to look down to the inside. Not much of a defense, if any, there from Newton. And as they come down into Elf, they're let through by Horace Knight very politely, and that is going to put Johnson into 6th. Behind them in the GT4s, Tyler King is discovering that Jad Duncan, despite getting thrown into the air, is able to get into his spare car and is already looking at the top 5 spots. This is a fight in the final few stages. Very good into the braking zone. Oh no, Horace Knight is off. Horace Knight is off, and so is Tyler King, who also messes up into Repsol. They're going to go side by side as Duncan watches. Could this be 2 for 1 for him as they swing down through Sayat, plunging down the hill and managing to get by around the outside? Tyler King could chop him off and divert. Yes, he does.
He does indeed. That's a position up onto the podium for Tyler King, but Jad Duncan, we have seen the very aggressive and exciting driving out of him all day. He now has his eyes squarely on the other yellow machine of Horace Knight. Let's see what he can do.
White flag just waved for Bayan Salehi, so when these 3 get around, they are going to be coming to the 1 to go, sending it down to the inside. Jad Duncan, very eager, and he's going to push Horace Knight out of the way to get himself into 4th. Can he maybe get onto the podium? An almost Hamilton-esque race here for him.
Really, really impressive drive from Jad Duncan. I am thoroughly in awe of this guy just driving back up through the field. Now going to start to put the pressure on to Tyler King ahead of him. Let's see what that yellow machine can do.
1 lap to try and get himself into 3rd as Tyler King stays put, does not try to defend. A good slipstream for Jad Duncan. He's starting to pull him in. They're running out of racetrack, though. It'll have to take a big dive down to the inside. He does send it. He's deep on the brakes, and he has got it. Oh, but he's a little bit too deep. He's going to go wide at the first apex. King tries to swing back, but he can't get the overlap.
King taking a wider entrance there into Renault, seeing if he can maybe carry a little bit more speed, but I think Jad Duncan has got him covered off if he can just hold the braking line coming through Repsol, and indeed he does. That is Jad Duncan up and down.
Incredible. This man, though, has been controlling this race. The 15 is going to take victory once again. Bayan Salehi getting things back on track with a win in Spain today.
An absolutely impressive, dominant drive there from Bayan Salehi. Very, very well done. And here comes Eric Oviatt working his way through the final sector. It's been a very chaotic race for him, but he is going to be very happy to see that checkered flag first in the GT2s.
I'm curious to see how he feels about it, too, because it was a rough race for him. Had a number of contacts. In fact, many of them with the same driver. I think all of them with the same driver of Jad Duncan, who hopefully will also get a little bit of a chat as around the final corner victory for Eric Oviatt. And then the fight between Duncan, King, and Knight is not completely over here. Down into the final few corners, Duncan able to pull out, and he'll be safe with a very exhausting podium as Tyler King finishes fourth, and Horace Knight still makes up a lot of spots in today's race and gets himself into a top 5. Believe the rest of them trickling across, not really many battles amongst them, so we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Barcelona Round 8 for the Porsche Owners Club Series. Found quite a lot of action. We made it sound like passing's hard here, but we saw a lot of passing in the end. As Brian Salehi was one of the few that didn't see overtakes at all, as he started on pole, finished with the win, and a handy gap behind him as Corey Latvala eventually got back into second, but he was plugged up behind the man who finished behind him for majority of the race, Travis Brown, who finished in third. Tried his best to do better than that, but he just couldn't keep him back. Jacob Abrams with a well-earned fourth ahead of Michael Ost, who finished fifth. Both of them up 4 positions respectively. Michael W. Johnson finishing in sixth was followed by Paul Newton, who was seventh. BJ Fulton falling down the order into P8 with Michael Roban next to him in ninth and Eric Hagendick in 10th. Doug Baccignoni was last of his field in 11th.
Eric Oviant was able to finish first in that GT2 field despite a little bit of rubbing there early on. Jeffrey Shulam had a surprisingly quiet race to come home in second in that field, with Jad Duncan taking the spare car and still able to end up on the podium in third, passing Tyler King right before the end. Horace Knight was able to come home fifth, with Matthew Sipik in sixth. John Momeyer, your second place in points, hoping to capitalize today on Freckleton not being here, only able to come home in seventh, followed by Aaron Edwards and Alex Bilzinger in ninth. Ron Palmer was 10th, followed by Mark Rondeau, Brian Cooner, and Adam Fulton.
Looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Brian Salehi. So let's see what it was like from his perspective, because from ours, Brian, yours was maybe the only calm race all day. Did it feel like that from inside the cockpit?
Surprisingly not. I was one mistake away from, completely losing it. And, the Corey and Travis were, not too far away. So they kind of lit the fire up my butt that whole race. And I somehow managed to keep it up front.
Oh, in that case, that kind of takes me to the other question I wanted to ask. Were you pushing 100% the whole way, or was that more just kind of managing the race?
I kind of had a pace in the mid to low 41s, and I wasn't pushing it all the way, but I was really tense that whole ride, because those sausage curves at the last sector and a few other spots are really tricky. And luckily, the GT4s did an amazing job, holding their line. And came out of this one good. I was coming off of a 1-lap penalty from the last race, so it's nice to get some points in the bag.
Yeah, I was kind of commenting on that in our pre-race that there's quite a gap between yourself and Travis Brown now. So managing to kind of chip away at that has probably got to feel good. I mean, there is a lot of season left, but do you look at that and think, I really can't let that get much worse at this stage?
I mean, everything about this league is consistency, so I'm just going to do my best to make it to every event and keep getting these podiums. I think we should be fine.
All right, so confidence there from Brian Salehi, who took our victory in the GT1 class, but we also have our winner in the GT2 class, Eric Oviat, who DJ has caught up with.
Well, Eric, it is a fantastic win there, but not without a little bit of damage to your car, especially early on. Some contact with Jad Duncan. Talk me through that race, my friend.
Yeah, that was ugly, huh? Yeah, I hadn't raced in a while, so it was a little rough. I think that showed, but I had a good start. That was kind of fun. And then Jad and I had a little contact, and it spun him around. So when he got behind me again, kind of let him back by and went after it again. We bumped a couple more times. Ultimately, I think he got flipped over by somebody behind him. But yeah, good little battles. Nothing too bad. Fun race. So yeah, all in all, good time. A little broken, but we made it.
You made it, and you made it on the top step, so I'd say that's a pretty good day in the office. Talk me through that start, because it looked like you just got an absolute powerhouse down the main straightaway.
Yeah, we were cruising down into first gear, and I opened it up in first and kind of clipped second and got a good jump. And I think second place, didn't get a great start, so I went door to door with Jad into one, and that was as good as I could hope for. So yeah, good run, good start, good timing. Just got lucky.
Well, in 2 weeks, we head from one Formula One track to another at COTA. Can we expect you there? And how do you think that one's going to go?
Yeah, because I had taken about a month and a half off of the sim, and some of the European tracks I didn't know. I didn't really have the time to put in and practice. This was one of them, but I had kind of committed to coming back and running the U.S. tracks, and COTA's one of them. So maybe I'll jump back in the RSR for that one if I get a little practice. But some of the stuff we know, I'll feel a little more comfortable joining the league a little bit more often.
Well, we'll be looking for you, Eric. Thank you so much. And next up, Joe Peak has caught up with your second place finisher in the GT1's Corey Lotvala.
Yeah, Corey spent a lot of time behind Travis Brown in this race, but finished ahead of him. It makes me wonder, Corey, if you didn't have to try and compete with Travis, do you think you could have run up to Salehi and try to challenge for the victory?
No, at the beginning of the race, I made quite a few mistakes, which put Travis in front of me. Travis is very fast. I just had to keep pressure on him and wait till he made a mistake, and that's exactly what happened.
It certainly took a lot of patience on your part, I'd say, because that was a huge chunk of this race to keep pressuring and wait for it to come your way. Do you consider that one of your strengths, being able to just kind of sit and let the race come to you like that?
Man, I don't know if anyone really has that strength. It's just you have to fight. You just cannot. You have to fight yourself to not push too hard. I made sure I gave Travis the. I would jump inside of him a little bit and then pull it back and get right behind him just to make him aware that I was still there. So.
Well, it gave us a lot of fun to watch for sure, as things were very tense. Now, we do have an interesting one next week because we have the incident limit this season in this series, and we're going to COTA. Are you going to be focusing on those track limits quite a bit in the run-up with practice?
Oh yeah, that'll definitely be a big one. That's always a thing we have to fight against. It's very easy to start racking those up and not be aware of them until you check with like 5 minutes left and you only got one more incident point, and it's not good if you use that last one.
Well, congratulations on second place. This is continuing you to be in the hunt in the championship. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you when we head to Texas.
Yeah, I would just like to thank Schmidt Racing for everything they do for me, family and friends for just supporting me all the way through all my racing, and the POC and you guys for putting this on, and my soon-to-be father-in-law, his birthday's today, so shout out to him.
Ah, very kind there of Corey Lotvala, giving a shout out to some family who's hopefully celebrating. As up next, it looks like DJ has caught up with the other end of the equation in that epic fight we saw, Jad Duncan.
Well, Jad,
Hello.
The first question I have to ask you is, how did you do that? I saw you on your lid and I thought you were down, but you ended up on the podium. That was an amazing drive, man.
Thank you. Yeah, that was quite the race. I'm glad we have quick repairs. I landed on my wheels after rolling for a while and drove into the pits.
Joe said it on the broadcast. I have to agree, man. Hamilton-esque in the way you were able to come back. Really, really impressive. So, but I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the bumping and bagging with Eric at the front, at the top of it. It seemed like just good, good hard GT racing between the two of you.
Yeah, that was really fun. And I think he bumped me a little harder and spun me out, and I caught back up to him, and he was very nice and let me by again, to be fair. And then we battled some more. That's how racing should be, I think, in sim racing.
Exactly. It's what we in the booth love to see. And so as we continue to go, throughout the rest of the season into COTA in 2 weeks and beyond that, can we expect this pace from you to continue, this incredibly awesome, aggressive style?
I certainly hope so. This is my first race with a VR headset, and it does make it a lot easier to be in the battles with the VR system as opposed to just looking at a small TV screen. So hopefully it'll continue at the next racetracks, and that can be even quicker, and we have more battles.
All right, I'm writing that down. If I get a VR set, I will be much better as a driver.
Guaranteed.
Jad, there you go. Jad, amazing job tonight. Just absolutely incredible.
Well, thank you.
All right, folks, that was Jad Duncan, your third place finisher. And now Joe's caught up with Travis Brown.
Our other third place finisher up in the GT1 class. Travis, we were talking to Corey about how long you were able to hold him back, but not at the right time, as eventually he did get through. Talk to us about that defense. he seems to think he kind of broke your concentration, elicited a mistake out of you. Is that kind of how you see it as well?
Yeah, definitely. I was the running joke and the guys in the league is that I can't talk and drive, and they know it, and so they were kind of chatting with me on the Discord, and I was saying nice job to the GT4 guys letting us through in traffic, and wouldn't you know it, right after that I mess up my braking point, lock up, and go wide, and I got a slowdown penalty. And I tried to hold him off while serving the penalty, but that was pretty cheeky. So I let him have it, and you know, it was all my fault. So yeah, he knows it. He got me good, but he was definitely the faster guy tonight. I was going ultra defensive all race.
You still remain in the points lead, I believe, at this stage. Both Latva and Salehi have quite a distance back to you. So that's got to be encouraging that you've racked up another podium. How do you feel your chances are at Circuit of the Americas? Can you keep that streak going, finishing within the top three?
Well, unfortunately, definitely not. I'm actually moving to a new house next week, so I've got to take my sim rig apart and then rebuild it all. And moving day is actually on 2 weeks from today, so it's on the next race day. So unless somehow I pull a miracle and like move it ahead of time, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, we'll miss you, and I totally understand, having moved in recent months myself. So commiserations on that, but congratulations on today's podium, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Travis Brown, who seemed to enjoy today, even though he didn't quite finish as high as he ran at one point. But one last interview, DJ Clark has caught up with sixth place in the GT1's Michael Johnson.
Well, Michael, a bit of an up and down race for you there, but I would say a pretty good salvage, having made a pit stop and to be able to come home sixth. You've got to take some good solace in that.
Well, what I take the most from this is a nice cool drink of Octavio tequila. It was a fun race. It was a good battle. I was sitting in the catbird seat. If you notice from the beginning, there was a group of four of us. It was Travis, Corey, BJ, and me, and I was just sitting in the back waiting for somebody to mess up. And darn it if they didn't mess up until about midway through the race. We got into some GT4 traffic, and I had said to BJ over the Discord, hey, don't worry about me. I'm not going to pass you until we get through this. But my mic was muted, and he didn't hear me, and he got caught up a little tight in turn 5, I think it is. And it looked like I didn't feel it, but it said I tapped him, and I'm like, oh, crud. All right, so I pulled over, waited for him to come back on, and then fought my way back through. But the fight back through was just as fun as chasing those guys in the catbird seat.
Well, and I got to say, we did happen to notice that pull off, and I commended you on air for it. I love that kind of sportsmanship out of POC. But then it looked like right after you let him by, there was, well, to steal another commentator's turn, an absolute schmozzle going into the corner. That's where I think Jad got flipped on his lid. How'd you sort of navigate through that one?
Luck. I think I used the word that starts with Mongolian and ends in yeah, we won't say what the rest of it is, but man, that was really bad. I felt so bad for BJ because I was like, all right, let me do the right thing. I stopped, I waited for him, and he's trying to thread the needle there. And I got lucky and made it through. He was still in front of me, but his wing was all jacked up. There was very little he could do. And I did my best to kind of help spoil some air off his back so we could catch up, and then got in front of him, and I hoped he could stick in my draft so we could catch up. And I think he just had too much damage from the subsequent incident.
Well, as I said, I commend your sportsmanship, and I have to agree with your choice of non-words there. I was thinking the same. But we head our sights next time to COTA, obviously another Formula One circuit, a little bit newer in construction, known for a little bit more overtaking. How do you think you and the series is going to go when we get there?
Well, the good money is on me taking it because COTA is my home track. However, as I have discovered, tracks that I know extremely well in real life don't necessarily translate properly to the sim, and I end up having trouble. We had a race there last season, and I forgot who it was, just absolutely obliterated my car through the stadium section. I think turn 14 or something, just came roaring into the side of me, and yeah, it was not a good race. So I think if I can get out front and get into a groove, I'll be fine. Otherwise, it's going to be interesting because I will try to do things that I know from literally thousands of laps in real life at COTA, that just they work great in real life. They don't work as well in the sim.
Well, we'll be watching for it one way or another, my friend. Congrats on a 6th place, and I would say enjoy that tequila tonight.
And you guys should enjoy some of the tequila too, because man, it goes down beautifully, nice and smooth. It's honestly the best tequila I've ever tasted.
Well, that was Michael W. Johnson finishing 6th today. We'll need to talk to the sponsors. We haven't got any kickback from them yet. So as we close up tonight, so of course we want to thank those sponsors genuinely. Starting with Porsche, there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage, don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila, celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Thanks to companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. The link is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we mentioned, the next race is at Circuit of the Americas, Monday, May 3rd at 11 p.m. Eastern. We will also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.